If you are not a vigilante, why not? We are the like-minded souls. We are never alone. Vigilantes is an amazing group of people. When I started it, I honestly thought it would be 10, 20 people that wanted to get together and talk about the scrap and have access behind the scenes and have an impact on the scrap. What it's grown into is a community unlike anything I've belonged to. The Discord is unbelievable. You can post anything in there and get feedback. It's just amazing. It's not just the fellowship and the relationships. There's all sorts of benefits to it. You get access to the Patreon. You get access to the Vigilante only swag shop. You get 15% off everything at Firehouse Vigilance merchandise. The Vigilante meetups when we get together. The Vigilante only coin. The blackout coin after you hit your 1-year anniversary. There is so much to it. Of course, the after parties. If you enjoy the scrap, there's the after parties where we roast the guest each and every week. We just finished a fire away that was phenomenal, all about building classes and presentations, and then we've got so much more planned, including scrap solos, the archives, access to all the Corley projects that are coming. Like I said, if you're not one, why not? Go to patreon.com/thevigilantes. Become a member, man. It's $5 a month. $60 you can sign up for a year. It is absolutely the greatest collection of badass firefighters that I've ever been around. They are the people who like to do the work. They are the people that like to solve the problems. So if you want to be a part, go to patreon.com/thevigilantes and be a part of the like-minded souls. Now, let's get to scrapping.
Introducing the Affordable Standpipe Prop, another innovative solution by Affordable Drill Towers. The Affordable Standpipe Prop is a realistic training prop that allows you to conduct real-world training in your classroom and flow water in your parking lot. Crafted with efficiency and affordability in mind, the Affordable Standpipe Prop is designed to meet the needs of engine company training. We took the fire suppression system of a 7-story building, compressed it into 4.5 feet, and mounted it horizontally on our proprietary cart. For durability, the manifold is constructed of 4-inch Schedule 40 galvanized pipe with 7 2.5-inch outlets. Enjoy effortless maneuverability from 4 heavy-duty casters, 2 that are fixed and 2 that swivel with double locking brakes makes wheeling this prop a breeze. Yet, the locking casters prevent movement when flowing water. The entire unit is sandblasted. An epoxy powder coat finish is applied, followed by a red top powder finish. 2 reinforced shelves allow for transport and storage of fire hose, appliances, and tools. The basic model includes a 2.5-inch Siamese fire department connection, 6 2.5-inch angle hose valves, a system pressure gauge, and a sprinkler head with a control valve and water motor gong. The 7th outlet comes capped. The Affordable Standpipe Prop is available with your choice of Fireground adjustable pressure reducing valves from Elkhart Brass, Zurn, and Giacomini. You can also add the Dixon PRD, a screw-on adjustable pressure restricting device, a 7th standard hose valve, an additional sprinkler head, or the optional speed swivel appliance that can be used on the FDC. We pressure test the Affordable Standpipe Prop to 300 PSI so that you can pump realistic fireground pressures. If you need custom threads, a specific FDC, have any questions, or need a quote, just let us know. Elevate your training regimen with the Affordable Standpipe Prop, setting a new standard in fire department training excellence. Reach us at 84455 Towers or info@affordabledrilltowers.com.
Corley Moore, Firehouse Vigilance. It is weekly scrap number 306. My guest tonight is Mike Bernard. He is a captain / training officer with Arbor Vitae Fire Department up in Wisconsin. He's an instructor / contributor with Midwest Fire Tactics and Training, and also part of the Oath Keepers cadre. He's an author in the Book of Search and the creator of the Englorious Bastards, master scuba diver trainer, and he has been an avid technical diver since he was young. He has been a student of the fire service for 15 years, and he loves to share his passion for the job at local trainings and at conferences all across the nation. It is my pleasure to have him on the scrap. Welcome, my brother, Mike Bernard, to episode number 306.
Thank you so much for having me. I am super pumped.
Awesome. That's what I want to hear every time. The intro, anything you want to add? Anything in the bio you want to add that I left out?
Absolutely not. You've talked enough about me. Let's get down to what we're here to talk about. We've talked enough about me already.
That is the answer I get almost every time from almost every guest. And so, absolutely, audience, get your questions primed and ready for Mike and myself. It's going to be a fun one tonight. I'm going to see what people are saying. People are saying Happy Tuesday, all, which is amazing because the scrap is always on Tuesday. You say, Bo Witcher says, go get them, brothers. Marco Isom checking in with some horns. Let's go. Here we go. LFG, Wisconsin. Eric Teal, my man. What's up, brothers? Caraview throwing up some rocker horns as well. So we're off and running with some hype. I want to say something about this because you wrote an unbelievably good article for the Book of Search. And page 87, Masking Up, Mike Bernard. One of the most difficult challenges I had in that book was taking that page and making it that flow chart of your step-by-step instructions. And
you did so good. You did, like, when I opened it up and I saw that, and I was just like, this is perfect. Like, because everything was words and like everything was all over the place. So then it was like the flow chart. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, it actually makes sense for someone to read this.
No, I'm telling you, I was one of the hardest things I did in that entire project. But I was so proud of it when it was done because, like you said, it took the words and it turned it into something like a visual. It really turned out good. But it was so insane because I would move an arrow like 1 pixel, and then everything would change, and I'd be like, just ready to punch a wall. But anyway, killer job on that article, and we'll be talking about some of that in there and your approach to that. Let's do the sponsors and get those done so we can get to scrapping. They make it happen. Affordable Drill Towers, on a mission to bring you cost-effective and versatile training props like the Affordable Bailout Prop, which allows you to practice window bailouts, ladder bailouts, and ladder high-point rescues. They also make the Affordable Standpipe Prop, which you can roll into the classroom for standpipe theory and then roll it into the parking lot and pump realistic flows and pressures. And of course, their mainstay, the Affordable Drill Tower. It comes in several configurations and standard with the standpipe system. Choose from 1 or 2 sets of stairs integrated into your existing Connect boxes for multi-story access or freestanding on a slab. All models NFPA 1402 compliant and gain you ISO credit. The only thing that you can't do on an Affordable Drill Tower is live fire training. Call Steve 844-55-TOWER or drop an email to info@affordabledrilltowers.com. You spoke, snap tight, listened. Built with you in mind, the newly launched American-made Supreme 2 is designed to perform at low and high pressures. With Supreme 2, you can count on improved packing and kink resistance, making it a game changer for all municipal firefighting needs and price points. They now offer guaranteed shipping and 28-day lead times. Visit snaptighthose.com to learn more or find a distributor near you. FirestationFurniture.com. They provide a complete line of quality furniture for your firehouse. Firefighter owned and operated. They understand the strain firefighters put on furniture and offer furniture that is built to last. Visit www.firestationfurniture.com for more information. Last but not least, I'm going to be there. Sean Duffy's going to be there. Rob Backer's going to be there. Jay Bonifield is going to be there. It is Heart of the Lakes Fire Summit this September, the 26th and 27th. It's going to be an awesome time. I hope you'll be there. It's the Midwest's newest fire conference, and it is Vigilante run. So register at their Facebook page, Heart of the Lakes Fire Summit, and they'll also post a link. They promised they would post a link in the show, so you can find it in the YouTube comments. So there you go. I'll see you there if you're going to be there, and that gets all the sponsors out of the way so that we can start the scrap. My man, they pull up my Mike Bernard notes here. I want to lead it off with a topic that is super relevant. I don't know, a hot topic, hot button topic, and that is toxicity within our departments. I didn't know where you wanted to start, but I wanted to start here. So that's where I'm starting at.
Well, and it's such a broad stroke because I think that there's certain levels to it because just back in Oshkosh when Dina was talking and we were kind of ping-ponging back and forth with like some of the stuff from my presentation and hers. I think one of the biggest things that we're finding out is it's so much, and it's so much to to unravel. I think one of the big things that we have to look at is, why are we eating our young? Why are we, like I talk in my class, why do we tell people, and arguably this is the best job in the world. There's no better job, right? And we all tell everybody that, and we're going out and like, hey, join my department, do this, come do this.
Right.
And day one, they walk in the door and boom, we smash them to the ground. It's like, you're nothing, you're a rookie, you're this. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm all about like cleaning toilets or, you know, cooking or doing little things. It's just like, hey, new guy, go crawl under the drop tank and push the last bit of water out. But there's a certain point and a certain line. And the one thing that I always say is that there's no pride and no tradition in just being an asshole. Like, it's absolutely unacceptable. And I think that what we're doing is, we have all these old guys, and everybody talks about it, is we have all these old guys that were raised a certain way, and they were coming from that kind of old school of hard knocks, and that's all they knew. And when they get these newer generations in, it's just kind of like, I don't want to say newer generations are softer, but they're different. Mm-hmm. And they're not really truly understanding how these kids have grown up with the technologies. Maybe they aren't, you know, working since they were 10 years old in a mechanic shop because they didn't grow up during a certain time area. And I think that with that toxicity, it gets worse and worse because, again, we love to be each other's haters. We absolutely love it. And it's tough because how do you battle that? You know, I feel a lot of phone calls and messages and whatnot from people who are just like, I want to be able to talk to somebody that's not in my department because I'm afraid that if I go to so-and-so, it's going to come back to me. Or if I go to so-and-so, it's going to come back to me. So like, I am kind of this medium for a lot of people all over the place. And I just like to kind of open my arms and talk to people, because if I had more of that when I was kind of growing up in my first part of my career, before I found what I like to call my family, when I started traveling to conferences and I actually found people that were like me, it would have been a game changer for me. But I think that the big thing that we need to look at is that instead of crushing people, we need to do what so many people are preaching, and that is open up, take them under your wing, and show them the ropes, and be open and ask questions and listen. Don't be so shut off. And you know what? I'm guilty of it sometimes, just like anybody else, where someone starts talking, it's just like, oh, this again. Oh man, yeah, I get it. You're new, you're excited. But like, that excitement and that passion, that can get killed so quickly, and we can lose people so quickly. And like, you look at your burnout rates, and it's like, oh, it's the calls. Oh, it's, you know, what they're seeing. Oh, they're running this and that. But like, does anybody ever, are they afraid to go to the firehouse? I mean, do you avoid it at all costs? It's like, God, I got to go there again. Is so-and-so going to be there? Is this shift on? Is this chief working? Because like, maybe you have such a bad conflict with that person, or you're treated so poorly by them and no one stands up. Or maybe you have all these backroom talks like, hey, so-and-so's gone. Now we can actually talk and be ourselves, and just be like, God, I can't believe why they're doing that. And a lot of those poor leaders that you have, again, like I said, it's not necessarily their fault, because how did they grow up? And maybe they haven't had necessarily any major level of formal leadership training or manager training. I mean, you know, you look at some of these positions, especially on the volunteer side of things. On the volunteer side of it, it's just like, you know what? Corley's a great guy. It's his time. I think we need to put him at captain because he's been super great. He's helping out, you know, cooking down at this Summerfest thing and doing raffles. But like, what's your experience?
Right.
You know, where have you come from? What have you actually seen? You know, are you the guy that actually is there for the main things? And you look at the volunteer side of it, it's just like, we go here for meetings, we go here for trainings, and we go to calls. Everything else is a cherry on top. Anything else that I can throw my time at to go do for a work session or a fundraiser or whatever, that's extra. The primary mission and goal does not change. But yet, there are some departments out there where it's just like, well, so-and-so didn't make it, so I'm going to really get on him because that's a guy that I can depend on 100% of the time, and he wasn't here, so he's a 99%, so I got to get on him. But then guy X over here is like, well, he never comes to anything, so I never can depend on him. So it's just like, he's a lost cause anyway. So, you know, we're not going to get on him and not going to ride him.
No. So much. I got a lot I want to touch on there because that was
Oh boy,
that
you
was
started writing. Okay, sorry.
no, it's awesome.
I just start talking and it gets bad. I'm sorry.
It's a great rant. It was a great rant, but there's a few things I want to hit on because there's a lot to touch. And generations, you said, you don't want to say they're softer or nothing like that, but it is definitely different. And
Yes.
and the thing I would always wondered, because when I got on in '97, man, it was like winning the lottery. It was like, I will never leave this place no matter what. They could have done anything to me. They could have had me out there, I mean, they did. This is the way it was.
Yep.
But it's just a different time now because people can absolutely just bounce. And they have more options than we did back then. And it's a different world. Did I lose Mike, or is he here? So I will talk while he comes back. He's back, maybe. Me and Sam are talking in unison. I know everybody can't hear it. I'm waiting to see, but I'll keep talking and see if he comes back, because I think that nowadays the generations just have more options to go elsewhere, and they don't have to put up with what.
I'm back.
All right.
Sorry.
No,
the
you're
deer
good.
must have gotten off the treadmill. My bad. We're way up here in the woods. Sometimes you don't know what's going on.
No, you're good. Someone chewed on the cable. All right. There we go. Got that up. I was saying about they just have more options now than we used to. Did he freeze again? Is he gone? Yes, no? Are you doing it on purpose? Are you messing with me?
I'm going to stay at it. Nope. I'm staying out of full screen now.
Mic check. Okay, you're here.
Okay, I'm here.
You look good.
Still here.
Okay, I'll keep talking. Does it? And the second point I wanted to make was: does it really just come down to the golden rule of treating people the way we wish we would have been treated?
I think that, again, isn't that a common set of ethics that you would teach your kids?
I would think so, but why are we getting it so wrong so often in the fire service?
And it's so funny because one thing that I definitely will be touching on later once we kind of dive into that, no pun intended, but like from my diving background and like teaching kids, like I've been super involved with hockey my whole life, and my kids play hockey. Like I spent all weekend with 30 some odd goalies from all over the Midwest. If you really want to test yourself and your patience, go teach kids and go like talk to kids to teach yourself. I have to learn patience. And I think that a lot of us, when you talk to them, I think there's so much pressure that we have. I was talking to some guys at a department. It's just like, it's so tough because like we have these new medics that are doing online only, and they come in and they don't know anything. So we got to reteach them everything there. And now we got our budget cut, so we're not able to do training the way that we did. So, we only get a week, and it's kind of when we're on shift instead of actually teaching them the way that we're supposed to. So there's
we may have to. No, it's a good frozen look. He's like this is I'll have to edit this part out of the audit because they can't see what we're talking about.
So much pressure, and then you watch, and they don't have the patience for the new people anymore. So,
Mike check. Mike Bernard check. We're trying for one more. We'll try a little bit longer and see if not. Come on, you can do it. Who we got? Who's ready to do a scrap? I'm looking at who's ready to go live and fill in. Uh-oh. Yeah, hold on. We're just going to chill for just a second, but I think we're going to. He's back with another. All right. Mic check. Mike.
Okay, I switched my phone Wi-Fi. Yep.
Mic check. Mike Bernard check.
Got me?
Gotcha. We got you.
Yeah, I switched over to my phone Wi-Fi. Hopefully that's better.
All right.
How embarrassing.
We will go with, hey, believe me, if you know the scrap, we've had plenty of connection issues at times. All right.
So no, and like I was just kind of saying, and I don't know where I cut off, but like when you're teaching kids and you're trying to be patient with them, it allows you to be that learner, to start teaching yourself how to teach. And I think that we have so many people that it's not necessarily just the leadership side of things, the mentoring side of things, but it's also that teaching side of things. And I think that some people are pushed too quickly into those positions when they're not prepared for it, and they haven't really kind of gotten, not necessarily the street cred from going to fires and running, actually being on the job,
Right.
but that background of it where they're actually just not, they're not involved with any of that extra stuff, and they're so involved with CEs and teaching new people and everything. And again, it's just an overwhelming amount of responsibility when we already have 1,000 things that we have to focus on and do every single day.
No, without a doubt, brother. And I love the fact when you talk about teaching children, the fatherhood, motherhood, parenthood, that's probably the best way to say it, is probably the greatest teacher of patience when you're taking care of another human being and ensuring that they grow up well. And doing that well teaches you so many lessons. And the coaching analogy is beautiful, especially when you start dealing with other people's kids. The
100%. I mean, that's huge, because like it's one thing with your kids, but like when you look at your other kids, and again, like, over the weekend, how do you explain something to a 6-year-old on the ice that has to do the drill perfectly, or at least adequately, to start understanding that muscle memory and recognition? And then in the next group, you have a high schooler, and it's just like, okay, now how do I change this drill around? Because this is entry level. So now I have to increase. And it talks like Rob last week, understanding where you have those spots and you're increasing those stressors to try and challenge that person, and seeing when the right time to do that is. And unfortunately, like we were talking about with some of the older guys, they just don't understand or recognize or know when is the right time to do that. And maybe they just weren't brought up correctly.
No, that's beautiful. The other thing you touched on was the passion that they come in with and how they get shit on sometimes, the passion they bring. And I always tell, people know my story of I was not a super passionate, fired up firefighter for a long time, but there was something that happened in my rookie year. And I look back on it now and I realize it was a huge impact. And one of the people asked me, why do you want to be a firefighter? Why do you want to be a firefighter? Typical question. And and I said, I've always wanted to be a firefighter. And he said, I remember to this day, he said, oh, you're one of those. Right. And I remember in my head going, wait, I'm not one of those. What do you mean? I'm not one of those at all. I'm like, no, it's just a job, and that shaped
What does that even mean? What does that mean? You don't even know what that means. And that's the one thing, is like, you look at what's the terminology? Rogue, vigilante, black sheep. Did you come onto the job like that? Did you come onto the job as one of those names? No. I'm Mike, and I'm here to be a firefighter. That's it. And all of a sudden, like, you're pigeonholed and just like, oh no, you're one of those guys.
What
does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Because a lot of people ask questions. They challenge the status quo. They want to know more. When you're disciplining people, especially this younger generation, you have to do it differently. You can't like scream at them because they don't have an appropriate feedback to that, versus the old school people where it's like, okay, I got yelled at, whatever, write me up, I'm going to go back with it. And a lot of those times you're met with a one or the other type of a scenario where it's like, I'm going to be positive with that negative energy and channel it and make myself better, or I'm just going to completely shut down. And all of a sudden, where'd the passion go? It's like, great, I want to go back to flipping burgers. Great, I want to go, do X, Y, or Z other job because I can't take this.
Right. And I don't have to, because I can go flip burgers. And no, and we lose somebody who was one of those guys.
Yeah. Yep, 100%.
So, you ready for questions from the audience?
Yeah, fire away.
We're coming at you. Question time yet from Tanner Satig. He says,
Tanner.
As always, if I got your name wrong, I apologize. But he said, how do you navigate the promotion process when you ruffled feathers in your younger years as an inglorious bastard?
That is a really good question. Hey, you know what? It's really funny, and it's kind of bad to say it this way. Eventually, they'll get to the bottom of the barrel. Eventually, they're going to run out of people. But, that's a big thing, is that if and Tanner has been following the class and is a phenomenal firefighter and student. But the big thing to think about is that if we're following a process in which you were identified as that person, and all of a sudden we changed our mindset and we're not shut off. We're not negative. We're not fighting back and biting back and snapping every single time someone does something to us. And we're meeting them with smiles, but we're still stretching, but we're still masking up by ourselves, but we're still throwing ladders by ourselves. It eats them alive. Your accolades and how you put yourself into that position that they can't deny you. Because again, politics is politics and it's tough. Sometimes you're going to have to wait for the top to change. And unfortunately, sometimes it's going to be like, well, you know what? We're finally down to this point. He's the last one on the list. And sure, it might have taken a little bit longer, but maybe they push you back up to it. But remember, we're in this as a marathon. We're doing this for 20, 30 years or more. We're not doing this for 5 years. I think back to how I could have redid my 15 years. And if I would have known what I know now and gone back and adjusted my tactics, I can't even fathom number one, where I would be with my own organization, but also like, what else could we have? Like,
Right.
it took me this long, but like, we got everything I want on the trucks. We got this tool. We got that tool. It's like, people are listening, that we're flowing, we're aggressive, we're doing good stuff. But that's the tough thing, is that it's that trust factor. And that's not to jump too far ahead, but like, we talk about that where we're like leading the charge. And I talk about that in the class, is like, what happens when they say yes? Because guys like us, it's always nope, 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 nope. Okay, well, what happens when they say yes? When they say yes, you should come back and say, okay, here's my plan, and have a professional presentation, be prepared for it like you were expecting it, and then slowly start going into it. And unfortunately, you have a lot of these chiefs and your line officers that need to look in the mirror, and they need to reflect on what they are doing wrong, because they are mistreating and mishandling you. A lot of them aren't going to do that because egos are too big. They just are. And there's not a lot of people that come to the light and realize, wow, I was really a dick to so and so, and I did a really, really bad thing. And that's where we'll talk about it later too, the emotional side of it, like being prepared for like crossing that bridge if someone ever comes up to you and mans up and's like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, that's a lot to unpack, especially if it's years and years and years of it.
Right.
And to kind of circle back, Tanner, like, it's tough because if you're trying to promote and you already know, like, I'm throwing a dart against a wall and I'm not going to hit anything, don't give up. The biggest thing that they want you to do is give up. They don't want you to promote. They don't want you to keep going up the ladder, because they are seeing you as kind of the Antichrist, if you will. But we need you to promote. We need you to keep pushing positive things. And it's a lot better when you eventually develop that group and circle around you, because you've been bleeding your motivation and your message into those people. I always say, if you don't have a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Always be the guy that has a folding chair in the back, and you're sitting back there and you're still offering stuff. But have a patsy, have a middleman, have somebody that's going to be going in there and be like, you know what, I think this is a good idea. And they happen to like that person. Does it matter that it was your idea and you got somebody else to take credit for it? Who cares? You got it through. You got it through. But you have to keep pushing. And again, if you're not going to push on the wall with 100% force 100% of the time, back her down to 10, but keep 100% on the wall. Just keep going. You have to keep going, and you have to keep going.
Love it. I absolutely love it. And the other part, and I'll add to this, which I only have no experience on the volunteer side of things. All my experience on the volunteer side of things comes from my interaction on the scrap with amazing volunteers and who come from amazing places. But all that being said, is most career departments that I travel and speak at, they have a process for promotion, and the process is the process, especially when there's unions involved, and you can just kill them with competence and just come in number one, and there's not a lot they can do when there's a process. Now, if it is a vote, a popularity contest, an anointment, then that is a tougher road to navigate. But
not necessarily. Okay. Because if you're going to go off that you're never going to be the most popular guy because you're hated, then change where you can and sit at the next SOP or bylaw meeting, because at that next meeting, when you start talking about requirements for a promotional process, maybe so-and-so only took fire 1 And to be an officer, you should have Fire 1, Fire 2, Officer 1. You should have, ICS, whatever else, and continuing education. Guess what? If you're the one that's out there grinding, you got it. You're ready. And if you can push those people and have a good argument on why your people are going to, number one, be more competent, be safer on the fire ground because they are trained. And that is as we all know, our best risk mitigator is being trained to know what you're doing on the fire ground, especially as an officer. Go to those meetings, push for the change in the SOP, because if your department's not willing to do it, boy, your town or community, I think that's a hard argument to pass up. It's like, we want competent people. And it's tough because you don't have the numbers sometimes. And I get it. But why is more education a bad thing if those guys don't have it? It pushes everybody to be better.
I love it. Quinn Moore coming at you with the next question says, how do you decide whether to dig in or get out of a toxic environment?
It's really tough because you're the only one knowing the battle you're fighting. And your level of bad could be different from what my level of bad is or whoever else's. I feel that if you can see the vision and you can see down the road and you say, if I dig in and I do what I need to do, not necessarily turn it like sell yourself out and kind of be that yes person where it's like, okay, I'm part of the crew now. And I went crazy there. No, don't do that. Just dig in and keep pushing because you see light at the end of the tunnel. You know, someone's going to be retiring. You know, things are going to change. And that's super important because that's going to give you that motivation to keep pushing and get outside of the department every chance you get. Go to different departments to train, go to outside conferences, and just exclude yourself from that toxic environment. Because when you go out and do that, boom, 6 months shot in the veins. I got this. All right. And then after 6 months or a year, go to another one or even less, whatever it takes to be that. When you have the toxicity where you're being directly targeted, you're concerned about safety, you're concerned about whatever it else might be, at that point, it's just like, find something better. That there is going to be a better place that people are going to treat you better. But if you have a marathon goal in mind and you know you can change an organization or you have the light at the end of the tunnel, that's where I would say, or if it would me, I would dig my feet in and be like, I can do this. I know I can do this. I'm strong enough to do this.
No, and no one knows what anyone else is struggling with or facing. And it's hard. And always like to ask this question, when I've had arm pain before, elbow pain, tendonitis and things. And I'm like, man, there's times when I leave the gym and I'm just kind of sitting in my truck, close to tears because of my tendonitis. And I'm like, I wonder if anybody else's pain is as bad as this, or if I'm just a giant wiener. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no relative. It's just my pain. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if someone else was feeling this, would they be on their knees, or is it just anyway? And it's the same thing. So anyway,
and it's like going on that medical call where you've got somebody whose arm's broken in half, and it's just like, it's a scratch. But then you get somebody else who's got a little cut on the finger. It's like, I'm dying.
Yeah, morphine. I love it. All right, getting back to the questions from the audience. Killing it, by the way. I'm loving it so far. Audience, great questions coming in. Yeah, Scott Hoke was asking about toxic environment is vague, but how do you recognize when the environment is a toxic dead end versus just being toxic right now? So I think you kind of touched on that. I don't know if you want to add anything to that question, but I think you just touched on it pretty good.
I think that, one of the old sayings, and I don't know if anybody else has ever heard this or said this, but when you walk into a room and everybody keeps joking and keeps like, oh yeah, we were talking about you, and they're doing that to your face, that's a good thing. Cause like, they're on your side. Things are going good. When you walk in the room and everybody gets quiet, not a good sign, because they are targeting you. They're looking for things. And that's the tough thing is like, I don't know what it is, but like you have such a level of like toxicity with some of this. If you don't believe it, just go read the comment section on any fire post that exists.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
We love to attack each other.
It's unbelievable and it's unacceptable. And when you see that toxic environment has pushed you out onto the island and you have, from the emotional standpoint, mental standpoint, I have no resources. I am literally by myself. We always tell everybody you're never alone. You're never by yourself. But it's one thing for me to go on Facebook and type to a Facebook friend that's 1,000 miles away versus someone who's in my town I can sit down with over a meal and be like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? And especially someone from that same job environment that's really going to truly understand like from where you're coming from and whatnot, or try to kind of give you that direction to help you kind of keep moving forward, because we really don't have that space to effectively do that and share our feelings and some of our battles that we're going through, unless sometimes we do it with complete strangers because they're a completely unbiased party. So I think that recognition of how the toxic environment that you're in, like what level would you grade it? It's the same thing like we talked about, like how bad is it? Is it
Right.
going to be worse if I go to this department that doesn't have, these problems, but they've got those problems? Everybody's got those flyers that are out there. And I always tell everybody, the Facebook flyers are great that you read. Call somebody on that department and ask them what it's really like behind the veil. That's the important thing, because if you don't do that and you all of a sudden buy in completely, you move, you do whatever, and now you're there and it's just like, this is the exact opposite of what I wanted.
Yeah, no. And it's just like trying to keep up with anybody on Facebook. You only see the bright side of their lives, not the real story. You never get the real, just the highlights. And if you chase anybody's highlight reel, you're going to come up short.
100%.
I wanted to talk about one quick thing that came up in my brain, which is you get the question quite often. In fact, I think there's one coming up from the audience, but it's basically they ask, well, let me just look and see if I can get the wording here. YouTube user, was it you? Nope, that's not it. I can't find it right. Dude, you got a lot of questions coming at you. Holy smokes. I didn't realize there was that many. All right. Here we go. Kyle Piverall actually asked it. He said, what if your passion, work ethic, and overall give a shit is looked at as too much and seen in a negative light because others are not up to pace? Now, I like this question. We get it quite often. It comes up on the scrap quite often, and it's a good question. But this is the thing I want to pose to you is sometimes it's just you're an asshole. Like, and you say, but you got to look in the mirror first and fix that.
Yep.
And then, anyway, I just want to always bring that up. It's like, and I'm not talking about you, Kyle, please take this as at the question, not pointing at you, but you got to start with the question of what if they're right and fix those things and then move forward. So anyway, go ahead and run with that, Mike.
So this is a two-way street. This is not a one-way street. We are not 100% vindicated and right in our right with what we're doing, because there is a portion of what we're doing that's wrong. How we're talking to people. We do a really bad job, especially me, on how we kind of try to get our points across. Like when I would go to classes and stuff, I'd come back to my organization. I'd be like, well, this is the way we got to do it, because like, why wouldn't we do it this way?
Right.
And I would shut people off because I was so passionate about it. What I had to learn is I had to learn how to talk to people. Hey, I went to this conference. I saw a couple things, learned a few things. If you guys would ever be interested, just let me know. They may never call you, but there might be a time down the road where all of a sudden they go to conferences, they start watching YouTube, they start seeing things, and they're like, you know what? There is something to this VES, or there is something to these smoothbore nozzles. It's like, don't you remember Bernard bringing something up about that? Can you help show? Don't be a dick about it. Be like, absolutely. Because guess what? In the background, you can still be training. You can still be doing that because you understand, because you went out. And I think that we have such a problem. And it's not a problem. It's a good thing overall. But it's a problem because what happens to all the vigilantes? What happens to everybody on the scrap? What happens to everybody who's on all these pages? We are in our own bubble.
Yeah.
Because we're with all like-minded people all the time. And all of a sudden we see one person who hasn't gotten it yet, or is in their own bubble or land because they've never left. And all of a sudden it's like, we jump all over them because like, you're doing it wrong.
Why aren't you up to speed? Yeah.
What are you doing? You should know this. We've got books now.
Yeah.
But that's the problem, is that we're killing ourselves because we're in this bubbles, and we do a really bad job sometimes of talking to people. Knowing that we're going to attack each other, we have to do better. And that's the one big thing, like looking at the search book is like, how do you write a mask up article when you have 50% here and 50% here? And how do you make them happy? Because you're not going to make them all happy. So again, like even how the wording is in there, it's like, just do it. Just whatever you're going to do, just do it to be better. So if we're going to do these skills or we're going to execute things a certain way, just be good at it, period. It doesn't matter. And going back to the question, like, yes, 100%, the passion will kill you. 100% your flame, your give a shit, because you care so much about the mission. You believe so much in the mission. That's the one thing I talk about in one of my slides is when I truly was finding some of these mission statements and I would look at them, I would take them literally. Like, it's me. I'm the one. But I can't be a single man firehouse. That's not how this works. So if I'm going to be here all the time and everybody else is here and I'm doing nothing to capture the middle and nothing to elevate them and push them to that new level with me, because I need to look in the mirror and look at my approach, look at how I'm talking to people. And again, people will ask questions. It's like, hey, why are you doing that with your mask? Why are you stretching line that way? Why are you doing? And again, just be polite about it. Just be like, this is the one thing that I saw. I really enjoyed it. It made things easier. And, then again, bring in a stopwatch and just be like, hey, let me show you. Because eventually people will be like, you know what, maybe that does make sense. Maybe we should start doing this. And you have to take those baby steps. If you try to eat an elephant at once, you will not accomplish it. You have to bite those small pieces off and slowly get to your goals. Because once you crush this goal, you should be setting a new goal and then another one and then another one. Because again, it's a marathon. Why would you stop when you get the one thing? Find something else in that organization that you can sit and look at and be like, we can improve on this. We can do better. We can be better. And just keep pushing for it. Keep doing good things. And again, be passionate about it and go out to those conferences and be you, because that's the beauty about our bubble, right? We're always us all the time. Always us all the time.
And I tell people all the time is I have a very colored view of the fire service because I only interact at conferences and the vigilantes and the scrappers. And it's just, I get this very rose-colored view of, man, firefighters are just plugged in because it's like the top 5% that is constantly interacting.
Right. We're killing it. We're doing good. Dude, and then all of a sudden you go somewhere else and it's just like, oh, okay, we're still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's a great point on the bubble. Oh, okay. Kyle Piverall. Got you. That was yours. Okay. Luke Stevenson. He says, coming at you from down under, by the way, he says, I have been involved in trying to drive change within a brigade. I'm trying to figure out if it's over or we're good or what, Sam. Okay. I have been involved in trying to drive a change within a brigade station. We were small, so change was relatively easy. But there was that point where the station was split between the good old boys and the new crew. It wasn't comfortable and could have gone either way in that moment. Is there any tips for dealing with people who see efforts to improve as driving division in the department?
So the old guy conversation, there was one guy that I always didn't get along with. And I think this is super important because a lot of those guys that you see as recliner pilots, or a lot of those guys that you're just like, they're like a year out, 2 years out, they're kind of on their way out the door. I had a guy that I just did not get along with. We battled back and forth. I ended up taking his position and stuff, and he was totally checked out. He had this second coming, and now he's pumped about training. He wants to be there. He does. And this is an old guy, been on the department since forever ago. And he's like, I'm here. I want to go on every call. We have a competition. Like, it's just like, I'll go on a call and he'll miss a call and he'll be like, God, I'll get a text and be like, I hate you. He's like, I got to get another couple up on you. So again, like, don't give up on everybody. Just because you see them as the old guys, try to find an ally and break bread and kind of find that medium kind of like middle ground with it. Because some of those older guys are just going to be like, you know what? I'm not going to buy into this or XYZ because I'm old and I don't want to do that. But like, I can see your point. And again, develop like that good case for it and just be like, hey, the young guys are super pumped about this. This is why we've been doing it. This is how we feel we can improve. And you know what? Unfortunately, even if it's negative, it would mean a lot to them if you ask them their input. If they've been on a department for an extreme amount of time, even if it's a guy that's like, well, we've been doing it this way for 30 years. Well, why? Why have you not improved? Have you ever been challenged with it? Well, no. well, what if we were? What if we were challenged with something else? Or what if we needed to do something else to strive for that different level of improvement and change that we're fighting for, because we absolutely need it in case of this? Because they were young once, they wanted change, they might not have liked something, and it's really tough. And I always say, like, if you're kind of accepted by those senior guys, and you can kind of find that happy medium between the two, I really think that that's where you kind of get into that flow state between the two different categories of people, where it's just like you need to live there. You need to work between and kind of be that middle person where it's just like, I can work accurately between these two groups. We can still fight for change, but I still need to kind of have a certain level of respect for the guys that have come before me and listen to their opinions, even if they're not going to jive with yours. It's okay. And it's okay for them to have a difference of opinion, but still drive home that point. But creating a level of division in your firehouse or your brigade, like, I think that, yeah, honestly, that's something that could easily dump. Like, you have shift wars where, like, you have a shift that strips the engine and totally changes out the hose lays, and the next one comes in and they totally strip it down. It's just like, why are we doing this? Why are we wasting the time to do this? Because you refuse to get rid of the triple, but clearly the Minuteman's better. Talk about it and put a stopwatch to it and talk about things accurately. And again, even if they're not going to be directly involved with the training, or they're not going to be directly involved with participating, talk to them about it and kind of see if you can kind of have like that sit down over the kitchen table, break bread, and just see, what it would take to kind of bridge that gap and really develop those relationships so that you're not in such a hostile environment.
No, great. Garrett Hersberg, I hope you're enjoying the questions from the audience, because
these are phenomenal. These are great.
Garrett Hersberg says, when are we grabbing beers in Minocqua?
Okay. That's Chief Garrett. I
He
don't know. It depends on when he's up. I mean, he's usually sleeping in his Suburban.
depends on who's buying.
Yeah.
But he said, but for real, how do you, and he actually said that, but for real, how do you mold volunteer people and part-time people and career people at the same department?
Oh man, that's a tough one. That is so tough because, and I know where Chief is coming from, because he is in an area where they went from like full-time and they went to acquisitions and they had volunteers in the outline. And now you have this battle of like career. We're going to be trying to train everybody and we're doing it as a group. I think it kind of piggybacks like on that question we had previously, where it's just like inclusivity. We know you've been here. We know you've been doing the best job you can do. This is like what everybody wanted as far as like a district or whatever it might be. And I think include them on everything and really make them to be a part of it, because they're going to feel so alienated because, all great, the full-time guys are here, the career guys are here. And there's kind of, without even if they're arrogant or not, there's kind of this air of like, oh, those are the full-time guys and they know everything, or it's big city stuff now. You have to have some level of inclusivity where it's like, we have standards and we need to meet those standards, especially now, because there is a higher expectation for all of us, and we can do that, but we all need to be on the same page. So what do you guys need from us so that we can be more inclusive with bringing you to training? What nights of the week work best? How can we do this? Are weekends better? Because again, it's that extra time that they might not necessarily have. But I think the emphasis should be, can you make meetings? Can you make trainings? Can you make calls? Everything else on top of it with fundraising and stuff, that's fine, but that's extra stuff. If you can make the core and you can be here and we can count on you and we know that you're squared away just like everybody else and you're all doing that together, I think that that's such a key thing. Unfortunately, I think that if you have such negative attitudes, and we go back to the toxicity, because if you have one cancerous person that's going to be there and they're going to be kind of staging that coup for everything else, unfortunately, I would kind of design it where it's just like, hey, you haven't been to trainings, you haven't been this, and just create that standard where you kind of just phase them out and just kind of quietly get rid of that cancerous person. Because if they're not going to show up, and when they do show up, they're just going to be negative the whole time, do we really want them there?
Right.
No. And that's the thing, is like, you can't save everybody. And unfortunately, some people, it's just time to part ways.
I love it. I love the breakdown of that. That's a tough question too. Uh, Lots to unpack. In fact, we could have an entire scrap just about that kind of thing. Here's a question that I call "I'm stuck in hell" question, and it is. It's not "I'm stuck in hell." And it comes from a YouTube user, so I don't know who exactly is asking, but it says, "Okay, so here's a question: How do you navigate a local government that is hostile to serious firefighters and doesn't fund the fire department and expects them to fundraise for all their operating costs? I'm talking local town that gives the department like $6,000 a year and then expects them to fend for themselves. How do you even recruit members or keep them motivated with that kind of headwind?"
You know what? This is a real tough one, but I'm going to dig back in the history book and I'm going to go back to my department. Our original guys were told by surrounding departments and stuff like, you can't justify calls, you'll never be able to do it. And guess what they did? They went and knocked on every door in the community. They started hosting their own fundraising, and guess what? They bought all their own stuff. They created something that was so special because they showed the need for it. And it's not that they went around or circumvented the town board, but they went to the people who mattered the most. And they were like, hey, we're going to have this picnic. 1976, we're going to have this picnic and we're going to have it on the north end of the lake. And ever since then, we've done that. And we have been able to fundraise our own second station. We fundraise massive amounts of truck purchases, equipment purchases, help offset different costs like that. But it's that buy-in, like how bad do you want it? And I know this is tough from the volunteer side because it's time, right? We're never going to get it back. Like if you're going to commit to doing this and you're really going to be serious about it and you need to start doing your own fundraising, if your board is so anti-fire department that like you raise your own money and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's technically our money because you're a municipality, blah, blah, blah. One great thing that you can do is form your own separate like firefighter fund or 501c3. Go to an accountant and actually have an accountant set that up for you and develop your own board who is totally separate from the fire department with a president, vice president, treasurer that oversees that fundraised money so that you can put it back into that equipment, recruitment, purchases, things like that. It's going to be tough because like if you're getting $6,000 to do a budget and repairs and everything else, like who can operate on that? That's nothing. I mean, that's
Right.
one repair on a truck if you have a bad day with a pump.
Yeah.
So I would just say like if you get good buy-in and you have guys that are really willing to push it and they're all into it, that would be the one thing that I would say is that lead the community with your recruitment through your motivation, because if the community sees you out there and they see your level of give a damn out there doing stuff at community events, being community involved, going to fire calls, going to EMS calls, whatever it might be, they're going to feel a lot more apt to give you money and donate to it. Even if it's a letter, don't just send out like a beg letter where it's just like, hey, we need money. Do a professional letter where it's like, this is what we've accomplished for the community in the last year. These are our goals. We would like to fundraise to get new radios, new thermal imaging cameras. Our costs looking at doing that are going to be approximately X amount of dollars. Even if you don't get it on the first year and it takes you a couple of years or a year and a half, you might get it just on fundraising. But that would be the thing, is you have to be very tactful and smart on how you're going to do that, especially if you have a board that is so anti-department or they're just too tight on money, and you have to get that buy-in. And that's where we talk about like those three we keep talking about. That's those extras. They have to become such a level of priority with you, but you have to have people who are going to manage it appropriately, and you're going to have to kind of put it in a spot where they can't directly touch it. And that's something that is just the fire departments.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Great answer to a tough question, man. I'm stuck in hell questions are always tough. So I love it when the guest has something to throw at them. Scott Hoke wants to know, when your officer can't adapt to the new firefighter, but you can, at what point are you overstepping versus simply translating for your officer?
That's a tough one. Because, you know, you look at it, we don't want to be passionate and push to the level of insubordination. But there's nothing that says like, you know, if it's a new guy and they're just not getting it or they need extra time, it's like during truck checks and you notice they're struggling on XYZ skill. It's like, hey, on truck checks, hey, why don't you just stretch this for me? Or like, hey, next time when you do it this way. And just, again, we're checking the truck. Or like with mask ups, so they're like, hey, as we check our bottles, I'm going to kind of show you a trick here quick with it. I think that one of the key things that you said there is translate for your officer. I really like that, because like if you have a working rapport and a good rapport with that officer, and I mean, that's the one thing is it's just like I can look at one of my guys and say a word or not even say anything, and I already know that they're going to go do whatever I need them to do because they're just so dialed in. Whereas if you have a new guy that's just not getting it, it's the private conversations. It's not necessarily overstepping, but it's just those private conversations, because you can still be that leader and mentor to that person without overstepping your bounds with your officer, because you're just being a good person trying to show them the ropes, and you're just taking them under the wing and just be like, hey man, what are you struggling with? Like, how can I help you? And again, during the day, you're doing a little extra trainings, go check in with your captain and just be like, hey, is it okay if we pull out the engine and just stretch a couple of times? And again, include the whole group, but really your goal is to focus on your new guy or whatever. And just ask, have an open conversation, because if your officer's like, well, yeah, I don't care, or maybe they do care, but if they don't care, it's just like, great, we won, because now I can go get him up to speed, while the officer is like, great, they're training, I don't even have to think of anything.
Right. And a beautiful thing that Mike said there was relationship. Basically, that's what he melted it down. The relationship with his crew, which comes down to communication and expectations. If you have communications and expectations, you have a relationship. And so communicate with that officer and set expectations and build that relationship. And so absolutely love it. Love it. Mark, no, Mark, I got that one. We covered that one. That one's been covered, right? No, wait, it was this one. This is tough. Ryan Fromhouse says, Ryan Fromm says, how does a volunteer handle family, work, and department? Because on one hand, I'm broke, but I need to help my family, but I also do everything I can at my department.
You know what? It's really funny. It's a really good question, because one of the biggest struggles that you're going to see is, I know I'm guilty of this. It's just like, oh, we have a fire call and we're at the store. Okay, you guys stay here. I'll be right back. Or it's just like I'm in the middle of a birthday, or I'm in the middle of something. And it's like, it's that burning thing, especially in the volunteer side of things, where it's just like, I have to leave. Like, people are depending on me, and your loved ones are going to say, well, you just go. They need you. Like, they need you at home too. And that's the tough thing, is that you have to make that decision, or you at least have to be okay with, like, I can't give 100%, but my 100% is 80. And if I can give 100%, 80% of the time, I'm doing all that I physically can while I'm still providing for my family, while I'm still out making money. And again, make your training nights. Those are written in stone. You know when your training nights are. Make your training nights. Calls are tough because calls happen all the time. But if in the middle of the night you can wake up and go to one call, or you get home from work and yeah, you got to spend time with the kids and stuff, especially if you have little kids, that's really tough, because you want to be there and you want to be part of their development. But across the board, we miss so much. And I think that if it becomes too much of a hindrance, I hate to see when people quit. I hate to see when people give it up entirely. Ask for a leave of absence. People understand. Like, people grew up with kids. People, and in today's world, like, you look at a cost of goods with everything, you look at everything else. If you go communication, if you came to me and just be like, dude, I'm trying, I am doing my absolute best, but I just can't do it, I would be the first one to be like, do you need 6 months? Do you need to just take a break? Go focus on you. Go get the bank account good. I mean, especially like right now in the summer, like, we are a tourist haven up here. Right now is the time to make money, because once winter sets in about another month, it's done. So,
Right.
That's the big thing, is like, take a leave of absence. There is nothing wrong with that. And again, communicate to your chief officers and everything else, because that level of communication is all we ask for. And when we do our interview committees, if you communicate to us and tell us what's going on, great. Like, I want that open conversation, because if you're quiet about it, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, God, so-and-so hasn't showed up for training. They're not doing this. They're not doing this.
Right.
I think they don't want to be there. And it's just like, why are you even right? Why are you on the department? But if you came to me and just be like, I'm having a tough time at home, things are tight right now. I don't think I can make. Fine, that's okay. Go focus on it, because aren't we telling everybody family first? So if we are, then do it.
No, it's beautiful, beautiful. And was it? I forget whose question it was. So I deleted
Ryan.
it. Thank you. Yeah, because I mispronounced it. Ryan, I always tell people this is that there is 100 energy is finite. That's what I tell them. Energy is finite. And I don't care what number you put on. I always say 100. You have 100 energy in a given day. And the thing is, when you're passionate, especially about the fire service, we have a tendency to want to take our energy and throw it into that. But understand that you only have 100. So when you it has to come from somewhere. And generally what we do when we're passionate is we ask our families to give up that time for us. We take it away from our families. And it's justified because it's the fire service, but it is finite. And just understand that anytime you're putting it somewhere, it's coming from somewhere else. And you only have so much to give. And that really helps my brain lock into, hey, there's only 100. I just put 30 into it. That's only 70 left. And I got to put 40 into this job so I can get my paycheck and pay my mortgage. So there's only 30 left, and where am I going to spend that time now? And that helps me understand and kind of keep my focus where it needs to be. All right, more coming. Are you good right now?
Keep going. I have nothing better to do. This is it. You got me.
As a career fire, there we go. Let me see. As a career firefighter from Scott Hoke, how do you approach and deal with the guilt of missing everything you miss? When I was a volley years ago, it seemed so much easier to balance than it does as a paid guy. I've never really heard it that way before.
You know what? And that mindset, I totally understand, because it's like, from the volunteer side of things, it's like, I can drop everything and go make this call, or I can at least make third truck, fourth truck, whatever it be, and be part of it, versus like, I'm not on shift and I missed a working fire. And I think that comes from more of a mindset from coming from like the volunteer side of thing and going career. Because once you go career, it's just like, well, I'm only at the station these X amount of times. And the big thing that I think he's really looking at is just trying to handle that, emotional level of guilt that we're looking at. Because again, you feel guilty. Like, I feel bad when I don't make a call, because it's like, because your mind is going that you want everybody there to be okay and to be doing good, and so that someone didn't get overtaxed with something, or whatever it might be. And eventually you just kind of have to get to that point where it's just like, you can't make everything. You can't physically be on every single call. You can't physically be at every single thing. Other stuff comes up, and it's okay, because if you left right now today, things would keep turning. Things would keep going. It's your job, if you're ever, and it doesn't matter if you're looking to go leadership or not, it's your job when you go there to show up 100%. But then when you're gone, work with the people around you and make sure that your leadership and everybody is so squared away that when you're gone, they are they're the best damn fire department out there. You could put them up against anybody. And that's the big thing, is like these epiphanies that you have. And I'm having this with some of like our younger crews and stuff. It's just like, I only need to say one thing, and I don't say anything else. It's beautiful. It's poetry in motion, because everything is flowing. Call them back. Vertical vent. Everyone's grabbing. I don't have to say anything. They know what to do. That's beautiful. That's the confidence in me that when I'm not there and I go home or whatever, that when I'm not there and somebody else says that, they're going to do it. And they're going to be okay, because you trained with them, or you trained them to be that way. And you have to be okay with that level and not feel guilty with it, because that's what competency is. That's why you're building this organization with this marathon, and it's not a sprint. We're doing this for 20 years and we're making it work so that we are the best.
Beautiful. You got me saying beautiful a lot tonight. Caleb McLaughlin, he says, get Mike to talk about how to overcome when you're the new guy that wants to train, but the old heads are pushing against it. We always get a question like this. This is a recurring theme throughout the American Fire Service, but how do we keep those guys interested? Do you have any insight?
I do. And Caleb, their department down where he's from, they run fires. I brag about those guys. Like,
oh, nice.
Go see those guys at a training. They're volunteers and they go to fires and they they search, they would attack fire. I mean, it's unreal. It's beautiful. Again, we'll just say it's beautiful, you know?
Okay. That's the word of the night.
That's the word of the night. Real beauty, eh? But you know, that's the big thing, Caleb, is like when we have those old guys like we talked about before, you have to find the flow state in between, and you have to talk to them and kind of get them interacting. I think from the volunteer side of things, one important thing to do is that Caleb's a hard charger. He wants to be on the pipe. He wants to be doing VES. He wants to be throwing ladders. Awesome. Old guys that don't want to train and do stuff, or more in the volunteer side of things, are a driver, running a tender, doing water operations. If you guys are doing training, have a multifaceted training set up with your training officer so that those guys can focus on their new craft, because they used to be you. But now maybe they just can't do it. And it's just like, I'm just not into doing this or flowing water and I don't want to train. What do you want to be good at? What, when you come to the call, what is your position? Well, I drive. Okay. Well, let's focus on pumping. Are you cool with pumping? Yep. I'm all right. Great. Let's focus on pumping. I'll go do all this stuff that I want to do, because now we are working as an effective team. We are no longer this single person fire apparatus where I'm the one guy that's, yeah, let's go. And all of a sudden everybody's so turned off with it. Incorporate them into it. And you have these drivers who are just like, I can't do interior work anymore. Not a problem. Like, let's get you squared away on pumps. Let's talk about water supply. Let's look at our equipment. What ideas do you have to make it easier for you? So when we do get to the big one, you're flowing, you're moving, you're doing everything, and it's easier for you to do so that you can succeed at this craft in your new point of life that you're at.
No. Great. And I almost didn't ask the question, and I'm so glad I did, because that is a phenomenal answer. And again, part of it's because my experience is just career, and I don't have the experience with the volunteers and the wide plethora of skill levels that can show up. And so that is a thing that is different for me. So great answer. I've been saying that a lot tonight too. Any tips or tricks for recruiting motivated younger people into the fire service? We're all getting older and won't be able to do it forever. We need quality new people.
We do. I think that instead, Chief Rhodes, we don't have a recruitment problem. We have a retention problem. And I think that it rings true with this, especially. We don't need to focus on begging people to come in the door who are just going to be a body. If our retention becomes so good because of how we treat our people, and this might be controversial, I don't feel that we are doing a good job in the volunteer service because we continue to lower standards. And it is unacceptable, because the people that come into low standards, when they show up, you only should expect mediocrity out of them. If we maintain standards and we maintain high levels of expectations when they walk into the door on day one, and you sit them down and you show them the calendar and you say, hey, every Monday from now on is taken up. Hey, these are the extra trainings that we're going to do. Plus you have calls. Take this home to your family and show your family, because when you look at that calendar, we expect you to be here. Here's our SOPs. I know that the state minimum only says this, but we expect you to be a step above. We expect you to be this, because we want you to be a better firefighter. If you hold them to standards, guess what? They're going to always step up to the challenge. They're going to raise the bar themselves. You don't have to ask somebody to sweep up. You don't have to ask somebody to get on an engine. They're going to get into fistfights to get on the engine, because that's the motivational factor that you want to come into the firehouse. By doing that and maintaining that, and again, leadership's a huge side of it, but that's a whole separate conversation. But with the retention, through the motivation, through what they see you doing, you're going to have people that are coming in the door because they see they're excited about it. You're doing good stuff. If you have a good PR person for social media with videos and pictures and stuff, that's always great. But if those younger people see that and you make them feel as part of this well-oiled machine, that when you show up, you guys are absolute killers and you guys are going to walk out and you're going to do that, That's because of higher standards. It's not because we're continuing to lower standards. Don't sit here and tell me, oh, well, they're just volunteers. Oh, well, they just, that's not acceptable. We can't do that. That is completely unacceptable. We need to draw a line in the sand, and we need to be better, because if the career guys are going to do it and we're going to sit here and say same job, then do it. Don't call yourself the A team. Don't say same job unless you're really going to buy in and do it. And you can't be every facet of it. That's okay. That's okay. But be good at the basics. Be good at firefighting. Be good at just doing that, so that when you show up, you have pride. Your tools are polished. Your fire trucks are polished and washed and ready to go. Your hose looks clean. You can do that at a volunteer firehouse. You can absolutely do that. It's the ones that say, well, when we show up, and no one gets hurt. Whatever, it's going to be too far gone. No, it's not. No, it's not. We can still get in there. We can search it. No one's going on suicide missions, but we can still get in there. We can still make a difference for that family. If it's not life, it's property, and we can make a difference for them. And I truly feel that through that retention, stop focusing on the recruitment side of it, because if you're doing it right and you really have that culture change in your firehouse on the volunteer side of things, especially, you are going to have people lining up at the door. And it might not happen right away. You have to be patient with it. But show the community what you're doing. Be proud with it. Be out there. And again, that's going to get those young people excited about it, and that's going to bring them in the door.
Love it. Love it. Luke Stevenson coming at you from the beautiful Australia. How do you support a volunteer firefighter who is choosing to essentially martyr themselves to the job? I have seen guys who find being a dad/husband too hard, so they escape into volunteering. There's some tough ones coming at you tonight.
Man, I am ill prepared. You know what? That's a tough one. I really think that, it's funny you bring that up, because I feel, for me, as bad as the fire department was for me at low times, it was the one consistent in my life that I knew I could go to, and I knew I could train. I knew I could go to calls, and I could be me, and I could be on point and ready to go and perform like I needed to. That extra variable of just learning how to be, let's just say, a good human, or learn the dad role, or learn the family roles, it's tough. It's tough. And you got to have those conversations at home. And again, I don't want to get into the whole family dynamic of everything, but it goes back to communication too, and setting those expectations. Because if we can do it at the firehouse, and we have expectations, and we have open communication at the firehouse, do it at home. And it's tough, because I know the one thing that's been shared, recently over the past few days, is that operator syndrome, being able to shut it off. And regardless of if you're looking at the career or the volunteer side of things, being able to turn it off and just be dad, just go home and be okay with that. And just know that your life is not going to revolve around it 24/7. It can't. It cannot. You can love it. You can be all about it. You can but I can tell you right now, with my kids, one of my kids shows some interest with it, but it's not like us, oh, let's go to the firehouse and watch fire trucks. Oh, let's go do this. Oh, that's my thing. If they come onto it and want to do it and show interest in it, awesome. Yeah, when they were little, we drove the trucks around and did stuff with it. But if they don't want to do that, it's well, what do you want to do? I have put my life and soul into so many other things and spread myself so thin. I know I've only got 100, Corley says, but there are some times where I'm negative 1,000 on some days, because it's just, I had to go into the reserves for the next couple of days. But, that's the big thing with hockey, is the kids love sports and hockey. So it's be an involved coach, be an involved parent, be a good volunteer, and put yourself somewhere there. We tell kids that it's a bad thing to play a single sport, because that's not going to make you a good athlete. Being a good athlete means that you can play multiple sports, and you are getting outside of those bubbles like we talk about, right? We have this one bubble, let's say a baseball, but now we have another bubble of maybe soccer. Go play both. Go be good at both. Go enjoy different friend groups and get out and do more things. It should be the same thing for parents. Have a hobby outside of the hobby. Have something that you go do. You can't just sit at the firehouse 24/7 and depend your life around it, because again, everything else behind that's going to fail.
No, it's beautiful. It's a great, and I love the communication expectations, obviously, and a big point that wherever you are, be all there. Jim Elliott quote, but just it's if you're at the ball game, be at the ball game. Don't be half in and robbing them at that point. And when you're at the firehouse, be all there. Be all there. So, man, dude, great questions coming at you. I want to get to the Englorious Bastards because I don't know what the Englorious Bastards are exactly. So, I mean, I love the movie.
Yeah,
but
it is a good movie.
It's a very quotable movie.
It is.
But hit me with the story of the Englorious Bastards.
So, during kind of a bad time for me at the fire department, I was going through it, man. Like I was real low. I was going through a lot of bad stuff. I was on that island. I was the island. And there was stuff that was going so bad that I finally sat down and I was just like, it can't stay like this. And I was pissed off. And so I sat down, I'm like, how can I affect positive change? Like, what can I do with my aggression towards this to help others? Because I know I'm not the only one. And I sat down and I wrote my first class. And I was very fortunate to get on the quarantine firefighter conference back in 2020. And that was my first time that I did it. And I think I did like 30 or 40 minutes with it. And what I essentially did is I created a living document. I like to call it my diary, because so many guys that I've talked to who sat through the class are like, are you reading my diary? Because this is directly out of my diary. And I try to tell people in the class, it's not okay how I was treated or how you are being treated, but we need to learn how to be better. And that's where we talk about that two-way street, because I'm being treated this way, but I can still be better and I can still do things to improve upon myself. And this person needs to listen and drop the ego and do better themselves as well. And I have evolved that into a multi-hour class now. And the beautiful thing about it is that since it's my diary, it's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. And the beautiful thing is, like, I have one scenario that would happen, but then something new happens and I have either closure or I open a new door and we can talk about it. But the big thing that I tried to do, and I don't do the best job in the world of it, but it exists. I created a page on Facebook, and my goal with that is it's a private group, because I want in that private group a space for people to go that if they have a problem to embrace with the other members and talk about it, so that they're not having to go to their firehouse and talk about it with someone who's going to stab them in the back. You can embrace with some of these other people that are sitting there and dealing with the same thing you're dealing with, and go and bounce ideas off of it. And we've created that, and I have that. And again, I'm busy, so I don't have the time I wish I do, but I try to put stuff in there. I try to do more things with it. And again, like, I encourage people, like, if you have problems, questions, things you're going through, put it up in there, because you're going to get people that are going to come back, and I'll respond to everything myself, because it's just like, if I can try to help fix that. And with that class, if I help one person not go through or fight the hard fight that I fought and do it a different way, succeeded. But I can sleep at night, because, like, I know they're not going to bash their head against the wall for 10 years and do it the wrong way when they could do it the right way.
Killer. No, I don't have to catch that class. So I'm trying to think if there's any other points you want to bring up that I haven't got to, because the audience has thrown so much at you. It's been phenomenal, but I don't want to cut you.
I made notes, so I've got notes. This is going great, because I can check mark off Englorious now. So
hit me with your main topic.
You know what? The one thing that I wanted to talk about, and I know that we advertised it, whatnot, and I think this is where we talk about the bubble, but this is where I think this is a good thing, and I really want to throw kudos out there. The anti-heroes.
Okay.
This movement that we're seeing, I sit back and I look at all these pages that are growing out there, and all these guys who are going through it and whatnot, and they took a stand and they made a page and they created a culture, and people are following it. And now these pages are doing stuff together. These pages are doing stuff together, and they're bouncing stuff off of each other. I think it's one of the most amazing things that we saw because, like, again, they're not our normal heroes. They're the anti-heroes. They're the guys you wouldn't have expected to be like the ones that are pushing for the good things in their organization because that's the shiny bugle guys that are doing it, and that's the ones that are pushing them down. And I really feel that for those who aren't following like some of these misfit pages and these black sheep pages and whatnot, need to do a deep dive into them because like they're putting out so much good stuff. And like I'm one guy, and like I, I have ideas and different things like that, but they're not the only ones. They are a idea and an idea, but like someone else has a different take on it. Someone has a different experience on it. I think that what is happening, what we're seeing, and the group that we are creating nationally and internationally with this, vigilantes are a perfect example. Like you have created a group that is so tight knit that are able to do stuff and bounce stuff off each other and focus on good positive things within the safety of the bubble to take back and go back and be successful back at their own organization. And I think that with these anti-heroes, I think that we look at some of these major conferences like firemanship, taking back the fire service, like it might only be 5 or 10 or 15 or 20%, but we're making progress. Like this is a really good thing. And I think that social media is absolutely killing it for us because I think that by seeing this and seeing those guys and gals that are pushing for better things and talking about their stories and bouncing things back and forth on each other and becoming those anti-heroes in their departments, I think it's the new wave. And I'm really excited to see how that continues and how that keeps pushing forward.
No, and it's making an impact for I mean, you can see that. Yeah, it's phenomenal. It was started so long before with so many forerunners of it, But absolutely, the torch is moving onward and forward, and it's phenomenal. It's a great time to be a firefighter.
100%.
I love it. I love it. All right, we do a thing here where I talk about books because I love books, and I'm always looking for new books to read. So what I want to know is, what books do you think firefighters should be reading? Doesn't have to be a firefighting book. I'm always looking for new books.
One of the ones I had to think about this because like we're on 306 here, and one of the ones that I really feel is so important, not just from a student perspective, student of the game, but from I'm getting ready to teach and I'm trying to understand how to really unlock potential in people, is The Rise of Superman. I think that is a key book that people need to read with it. It's by Stephen Kotler. The big thing that you look at with that book is Stephen was a journalist, and he was a science-based journalist, and he looks at what it takes to get to what's called your flow state and sit in this state where you are increasing your learning environment, your proficiency, your productivity. And he compared it between like Olympic athletes breaking world records and then your action sports people who are doing it weekly versus every 4 years, one every 4 years, one every 8 years, versus, well, I just dropped a kayak down an 80-foot waterfall. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to go down a 100-foot waterfall. Now I'm going to go down 110. So, it talks about that with like your struggle, your release, your flow, and your recovery stages. And I think it's huge because you look at what it takes to get to flow state and how you need to deactivate the part of your brain that is your inner critic and your self-monitor to criticize what you're doing. By shutting that off and getting that into that flow state, I had to jot this down because I just wanted to specifically hit these points.
Okay.
Specifically with teams of snipers, they saw that by getting them into flow state, it increased their learning by 250%.
Damn.
When you looked at a couple of the different business environments that they were in, they saw an increase in productivity and production by 500%. But it's focusing on things we talk about a lot. And this is why I feel it's an important book. Like you look at your recovery state, taking a break, having downtime, good sleep. How many of us get good sleep? How many people battle that? Or again, they make excuses for stuff. but hitting that with the struggle, and it talks about a different level of struggle where you're tackling things that are just outside what you're capable of, and understanding how to increase your percentages. Not we're increasing the difficulty 50%, to really increase that to get them to the flow state, maybe 4%, just a couple of percentages.
Just barely outside the comfort zone.
Just getting outside of the comfort zone. Release, if you're trying to master something, taking that step back. So like I'm trying to master the 10-second mask up, but I'm really good at a 20-second. So I can chase the 10-second mask up for, an hour, 30 minutes. But then let's go back to the 20-second expectation, because I know I can do it. Because guess what that's releasing? That's releasing that dopamine and serotonin, and I'm getting that energy spike, and I'm like, okay, I'm being successful. I'm doing good things. And then finally, if you can get to that point where you're deactivating that point in your brain with your inner critic, you get into that flow state. And it's very interesting. I almost want to say that I originally heard about this book from Rick George forever ago. I have read it, and I think that it's an important book to read, just because it's a totally different perspective. But again, it's something that's completely outside of what we do looking at athletes, but so applicable on how we can just be better and how we can do better things.
Okay. Oh yeah, I thought there was what was Rick George's book? The name?
No, that I Rick George's book was oh man, it's not over there.
Was it the one he suggested, or are you talking about Firefighter Resiliency?
No, he suggested this one, but no, okay. Firefighter Resiliency. If you're going to read another book, that's a great book to read.
No.
Firefighter Resiliency.
You said the book by Rick George, but I didn't know if you said the title.
He recommended it, The Rise of Superman.
Oh, okay,
that is one he recommended. I'm pretty sure.
I lost track in there that he was the one who recommended.
Sorry,
I thought
made a circle.
Yeah,
he came back.
Hey, I'm slow. No, I mean, I'm utterly infatuated by your description of The Rise of Superman. Now, I really, really want to get it and read it, because I have not heard it mentioned out of 306 episodes. So
it's a really good one. It talks a lot about similar things that we talk about.
How big? Okay, good.
Not bad.
I'm a slow reader for as much as I read, and so I avoid bigger ones that eat up a lot of time.
Yep, it's definitely a good one. That's why I thought that, again, on all the ones you could pick, that I think is definitely a good one.
Killer. No, I can't wait to get a copy. I'm going to order it in the after party. I'm going to order it. The Rise of Superman. So we have a thing we do, Mike. It's called the 5 Questions for Firefighters. On it, there is no right or wrong answers. There is only your opinions. The points are decided arbitrarily by me with the help of the audience, and we got a special treat tonight. So, Mike, are you ready for the 5 questions for firefighters?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Number 1, you are the rookie, the probie once more, and you have to cook the meal for the firehouse. What is your go-to meal?
Anything breakfast related. I'm going to make something breakfast related, and I'll go. We've owned a family restaurant for 40 years, so I'm pretty good in the kitchen. Some of the worst and best times of my life.
I can imagine.
But we got pretty good at breakfast, baking our own bread and things like that. And one of the big things that we made that was super popular, if I could make it, that would be like a hearty meal to really set you up for the day, is we called it the weed bed. So it's a base of hash browns, then you pile your meat of choice on top of that, then your eggs, and then either cheese or hollandaise sauce or sausage gravy on top of that with a side of toast.
Ooh, yeah, that does sound like it'll set you up for that. Sounds like it'll stick to your ribs. So
exactly. Well, hey, it's cold here. Like it's cold bed? Here all the time. The weed bed.
The weed bed. I'm not sure how I got the name, but that absolutely deserves max points out the gate, and it actually worked on the first try. So there we go, max points. Number 2, it's Jobtown. It's time. You're en route and responding, just like the scene from Backdraft. You slaps that cassette into that tape deck. What song are you playing while en route?
This was so hard.
This is the one I can't answer.
This was so hard. I was just like, I was going to come on and be like, just hit shuffle. Just go into anything and hit shuffle. But, jamming out the last couple of weeks and stuff, I'm going to go with Dig by Mudvayne.
Dig by Mudvayne. And that is officially the first Mudvayne song. Yes, Sam? I would absolutely, yeah. He says yes. That's the first Mudvayne song by Dig, which will get you absolutely 2 for 2. 2 for 2. Now there's no question. Now there is no question if you get max points. Number 3. Whose boots, past, present, or future, would you like to spend 24 hours in?
Since we're on the topic of antiheroes, one that I feel is completely applicable is Jake McNasty McNeese. For those who don't know who he is, he's from Oklahoma.
Okay.
And he got out of school and he was a full-time firefighter. And then World War II started. And he was eligible to not go into the draft because he was a firefighter. Quit his job, volunteered for service. And when he volunteered for service, he didn't just volunteer for anything. He volunteered for demo and paratrooper and dropping in behind enemy lines, taking out telephone poles, things like that. So being exempt from the draft, volunteering, serving his country, but he is your classic guy, like in boot camp, gets into fights with his sergeants, like knocks them out and stuff. But he's the guy that ends up taking command and being a sergeant. He ends up being the leader of the Filthy 13. So for anybody who knows World War II, the Filthy 13, one podcast I love to listen to all the time is The Fat Electrician. He does a lot of history on his own kind of version of that. He does do one on Jake McNasty, and he, for me, for 24 hours, just to kind of see that from that perspective with the military and to understand that level of commitment with something that's guaranteed, like you don't have to go.
Right.
And then when he does go, like he's essentially the bad guy. Like they're going to try to kick him out of the military, but it's just like, this is the exact guy we need to send to Germany. And he goes over there and he ends up volunteering for Pathfinder, has a ton of successful mission behind enemy lines. If you're looking at any of the old pictures, the Filthy 13 are the guys that are actually jumping out of the planes when they're going to Germany, that are the ones that have the mohawks and their face paint on. And Jake McNeese is one of those guys, and he's well worth your time, especially, like I said, the Fat Electrician does a great job. He's real funny, but he does a really great job with the history of it. So he's definitely one that I would do.
Dude, I love it. I love it. A, he was an Okie. B, his name is McNeese McNasty. And I love the reason you picked him. And so absolutely max points, 3, 4, 3. So we're heading to number 4. You're retired. You're sitting on the beach, enjoying a Mai Tai. What do you want to hear through the grapevine that the people you used to work with, how do you want to hear that they describe you to the new recruits?
He was a good fireman. I've said this a lot, and I will go to my grave saying it. I would rather be a good fireman than a nice guy. And if that means that we don't get along, but when I walk through that door and we got to go to work, you know that I've got your back. You know that I'm not going to ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself, and that I'm going to do everything I can for you as your officer and try to show you my knowledge as much as I can and make you the best that you can be. If we don't agree on everything else and we don't hang out outside of the fire department and whatnot, that's okay. I just want people to remember that, like, I was a good fireman and that, like, I really left it all out on the line, and I did everything that I could, not just for the department, but for the people that were in it, to try to leave that kind of that lasting effect. It doesn't matter that my name doesn't even need to be attached to it. It's just like, you have roof hooks instead of pike poles. You have smooth bores instead of automatics. You've got all the newest new. You've got all the newest tactics. You're learning stuff. You know how to be aggressive. You know how to vertically vent, and like, you know how to be good at it. Like, I want to be part of that, and I want to be down in the trenches doing that with those people, and just be remembered that, like, if you're going to pick the top of the top to be responding to your house, I want to be on that truck. And like, that's all I want to be remembered by, because like, that's what we're here to do. We're just here to be the best, and we're here to be good. But that lasting impression is going to be like for those people around you, and what you can leave. Like I said at the beginning, marathon. What can you do in that marathon? Because it goes like that. A happy retirement, by the way, but it goes like that.
It does go like that.
It does.
No.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're out of it and you're doing something else, or, you know, you're still trying to make that lasting impact. But like, when you're in it, just live in it and just be damn good. That's it.
Dude. It refuses to. Oh, there we go. So I was like, it was going to deny you, but you did. You brought it full circle back to the beginning, and so I love the tie-in. 4 for 4 with the flashing light. Heavy fire, searchable space. Would you rather be assigned to the nozzle or first in on VES?
No question, VES. There's no question. You know, it's funny because really early in my career, because again, rural, I didn't know anything or know better or about anything else. One of the groups that I super attached myself with, and like they are phenomenal dudes to sit and talk with, was West Coast offense guys.
Nice.
And I was all in on truck work. Like that was it. Like the engine's great and all, and I'm on an engine, but like if we pull in like third and you tell me vertical vent, I'm yelling. My arms are in the air. Vertical vent, VES, search, whatever we're going to be doing, it's VES. I think that the amount of time seeing what you're reading with it, how to do it, the ins and outs of it, and that ability to really push your training and knowledge to the max, to know what you're doing. And I'm not taking anything away from the engine at all, but honestly, like that for me is my happy place. Like, and I'm very fortunate to teach VES at a couple of places, and that for me is like, yeah, let's get in, let's get into some dirty smoke, and let's get in there and search it.
Love it. I absolutely love it. Will the sign agree? It's officially broken.
Oh no, the engine.
Or I can hit the right button.
There it is.
Or I can hit the right button. Might be operator error. There you go. 5 for 5 max points for Mike Bernard. And that officially puts 306 scraps in the books. My brother, thank you for sharing your evening with us, first of all. But if someone wants to get a hold of you and get to know more information, book a class, ask questions, what's the best way to do so?
I'm not unreachable. So if you need to find me on Facebook, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, through our training page. Our training page is Midwest Fire Tactics and Training. My training partner, Nate, and myself do that kind of regionally up here for Wisconsin, the upper Midwest. And we are able to do stuff at some of the other conferences as well. We're very fortunate for that. So you can find us on Facebook. Outside of that, we've done some stuff on YouTube back in the day. I have to say this, and I do this plug at all. Please continue to buy the Book of Search. Nice. It is a phenomenal thing. It is doing great things. I'm very happy to be a small part of it. And again, if you can't afford it, that's okay. Go to firehousevigilance.com, download your PDF, print it off, take it down to your firehouse, and be part of the change. We need to keep fighting. We need to keep pushing, because this is going to be the time that we change and we do good things. And by doing that and buying that and really getting that buy-in, phenomenal, like good things. And yeah, just find me. Again, don't be afraid to talk to me. If you have something where you want to talk more, apply to get into the Englorious Bastards Facebook page. And there's some question to answer, and then I allow you in. But again, it's heavily monitored specifically for the reason that I'm trying to create a safe space for people to talk about stuff if they need to.
Awesome. And remember, the Book of Search, 100% free. 100% free. Go download it. It's free. If you want to have your beautiful copy, you can't get the first grab edition anymore, but you can get the Book of Search, the white copy. And all the proceeds, 100% of the profits for all the sales go to Firefighter Rescue Survey. And it's making a difference. And you get to collect signatures. I'm trying to be the first person to have all of the signatures back here. I've got quite a few. Not easy to flip, but you see all the people I've got to sign so far. And I've gotten, I want to say, like 20 or 30 people to sign out of the 44. So all that being said, with new thing we're doing on the scrap, which is I ask for a challenge from the guest to the audience that they have to complete before the next scrap next Tuesday. So what is your challenge to the scrappers?
Go practice your mask ups. Whatever you had as a good time, I want you to spend a week trying to shave a second or two off. For me, The best way to do that was an unbiased source. I took videos of myself. I watched my videos on how to improve, little things I could have done differently. Go mask up. Go make it part of any of your drills. It is a free skill that will enhance any other drill that you do, because that is the glue that puts everything together. And guess what? I don't care if you're doing it with gloves on. You should be doing it with gloves on, especially we can go down a rabbit hole with it. But masking up, be efficient, be effective at it, and understand why you need to practice with it. And if you've never done it, try it. I have old videos of me doing mask ups for the first time ever back in like 2017 or 2016 with gloves on. It was horrible to watch. But again, it's a humbling factor. Like, I started somewhere and so did everybody else. Don't be ashamed. Go practice it. Put videos up of yourself, just so that you can see like how to do better with it, and ask questions. Like, people that do it, just ask questions. Be better. Spend a week masking up, and throw a ladder, mask up, stretch, mask up, force a door, mask up, or just mask up. Just do it, get better with it, and just work at being better at it.
And if you want tips and tricks, page 87 of the Book of Search, there's a great article written by a dude in there called Masking Up, Mike Bernard. And so the last thing, and that's an awesome challenge. Thank you for that. The last thing I like to ask the guest is, I'm always looking to improve my network. As I've done this for 306 episodes now, I find myself sometimes getting into my comfort zone with, and I don't get me wrong, my friends are awesome. So having conversations with them is awesome. But I find myself going to my favorites, and I'm trying to expand my network. So I ask you, who's someone that you think should be on the scrap? And I know you can't possibly know the entire 306. So you may say somebody that's been on, but I always try to give you that.
I've got one that hasn't. What
you got?
Brooke Ames.
Ames. AIM.
AMES.
Okay.
Brooke has a very awesome and very unique leadership class. And Brooke is still an active paramedic, and she worked in Southern Wisconsin. She was doing a lot of conferences and whatnot. 451 leadership was her class she did. It's totally different. It integrates a lot of her business side of stuff that she does now. And she's actually going to be getting back into the fire service, so with conversations with her leadership class, going to conferences. And it's very exciting because it's a totally different take on stuff. Okay. It's kind of like the anti-leadership class is what she kind of talks about with it. But Brooke has gone, her story and what she was able to do and how she was able to be successful for herself, challenge herself with working out and fitness to become an IFBB pro power lifter champ, like phenomenal person. And I think definitely a great guest as far as the leadership stuff goes, and would definitely be on track with everything too.
Love it. Love it. I have to get that contact info. Now she was a paramedic. Was she a firefighter?
Yep, she worked in Southern Wisconsin as a firefighter paramedic, and she maintains her paramedic credentials and went back to a job that she had, but she's still doing that on the side with stuff. Okay. And she's trying to get her leadership stuff going again. And like I said, it's a phenomenal class.
Okay, awesome. I love the enthusiasm for it. So that officially takes us to the housekeeping, which is go to patreon.com/thevigilantes. Become a vigilante. The Discord. Man, there's stuff happening in it every day. Tomorrow I'll be going live and cutting up Mike Bernard's clips into highlights, and so we can share them. If you're looking for a place to connect with like-minded souls, go become a vigilante. One of the cool parts about being a vigilante, the after party, which Mike has agreed to come to and be roasted. So prepare yourself, Mike. I hope you're ready for it.
That's okay, because I was number 100 vigilante 100 years ago. So I'm ready.
Before the vigilantes were vigilantes. That's the truth. Talk about the meetups. Vigilante meetups. We'll be having one in Chicago or in Aurora, right, for firemanship. There'll be a vigilante meetup. So coming up on the scrap next week from Citizens First, the one and only Josh Wheeler. I'm excited about that, followed by the man, the myth, and a person who is always fighting to improve the fire service, the amazing Frank Ricci. It's going to be, we're pushing the halfway point of 2025, and it's been an amazing, and it's trucking along. So be sure to be here every Tuesday for the live show. So, all right, enough jabbering from me. Sam is posting the link to the after party. Audience, as always, you're amazing. Mike Bernard, I cannot stress enough how much it means to me that you would take time out of your evening to come on and share your passion and field the questions from the audience and crush them, and then just everything. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm very humbled to be here. I greatly appreciate the opportunity. This was a blast. I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And audience, you know how much I love you, because without you, there is no scrap. You guys throw amazing hard fastballs at the guest. You sometimes give them some soft tosses so they can get their legs, but you guys know what you're doing, and you absolutely set them up for success each and every week. Without you, the scrap would be nothing. You are the magical element, and I can never say thank you enough. So I say it every time. Remember, mutts don't scrap. I hope the tones stay silent. This job will never be safe, so stay smart out there.